some facts to know about starting a small business in Ontario, including how to write a business plan. A thought: there's only one boss, the customer, and he can fire everyone in the company, from the chairman on down, simply by spending his money somewhere else. That was made by Sam Walton, who founded Walmart. And the idea is that the customer is going to determine whether the business succeeds or not. It's not going to be whether you worked hard. It's not going to be the quality of your idea. It's whether there's going to be a good match for that idea uh, with a market, and also whether you execute the idea properly. So let's take the empty storefront near the school at Broadway and Yonge. Used to be a South Street Burger and Fries. You might, have a dream to open your own arts and crafts store, but you'd want to consider, is there enough customers in this area to support that? Is there any competition? What are the demographics of the people living in the area? Is there a market for my idea? I could have the best arts and crafts store in the world, but if the demographics don't suit it, it's not going to succeed. So you might have noticed that there's some Jollibee signage up. Now, it hasn't opened yet because of the 2020-2021 chaos, but why would they have picked that location? Well, look at City of Toronto demographics. In that particular neighborhood, Jollibee is a fast food restaurant. It has Filipino recipes. There actually are a lot of Filipinos in the neighborhood, of people of Filipino heritage. And there's also a lot of single people who might enjoy a fast food type restaurant. So that might make Yonge and Broadway a good location for a Jollibee restaurant. So as an entrepreneur, you want to make sure that you have a good idea and there's a market for your idea. So then what's next? Well, these are some of the steps anyone has to do. You have to name the business. Think of a good name that's going to stand out and see if it's been taken. It's the name registry site right there. Test the name. What do people associate with your name? Is there anything offensive about it? In another language, perhaps? Is there any slang involving your name? Then you would want to register it. The only name you don't have to register is one that's your own full name. So once you see that the name's taken or it's not taken, then you would want to register your business, and you can choose whether it's going to be a limited partnership, a limited corporation, sole proprietorship, but you got to register your name, and that's the link where you can do that. Then you would want to protect any trademarks that you have, any intellectual property, and then also patent your innovation. Just regarding the patents and the name, I would also check in the United States. It's such a big market. You would, it's quite possible you might operate there. And also, there's so many more patents in the United States Patent Office than there are in Canada. So if you have any logos, trademarks, slogans, things like that, make sure that they're protected, and make sure that you patent your innovation if there's something about your product that is your intellectual property. Then you need a small business number. Why do we need a small business number? Well, if you hire anyone, you will deduct some income tax, you will deduct some pension plans, some employment insurance. You'll collect HST from your customers and then remit it on a quarterly basis. So you need a number for those two major transactions, and it's about $150. And then that's what you use to file your business tax receipts. Then you have to apply for licenses and permits. And if you go to the BizPal website, you can see, well, what does a restaurant in Toronto need? What does a construction company in Guelph need? You can figure out exactly what licenses and permits will be required, and you get those before you're operating. If you're going to run a restaurant, for example, and you build the biggest, best patio in the world, and there's no permit for it, they'll make you tear it down. So get the permit ahead of time. Then you might need money. Well, sometimes friends and family members can provide financing, or you might have some savings. You could go to banks. The government is interested in small businesses succeeding because it's like, the economy is like dropping a big stone in a pond, and the initial small business might be the stone, but it creates all these ripples that grow the economy in other ways. So the government might be able to help with a loan or a grant. The provincial government could also help you. Um, you might need a venture capitalist. You might have started your business, you're 2 years in and you need to take it to the next level. You might get a micro capitalist, eventually you might get a venture capitalist to invest in your company, or you might need some initial money to just start production of your product, to make a prototype. And Kickstarter or microloans, really, really small loans, are a bit of a trend that just give people the money they need to get a business started without having to give up equity or pay high interest rates. You'll have to make a pitch deck. So a pitch deck would be what you use when you're pitching your product. So here's, it's going to have all the key information. What makes yours stand out? What are the sales so far? How are you doing? Here's what the Facebook. You notice it's changed its name since then, but this was the initial pitch deck that it gave when it was searching for venture capitalist investments. It explains what it was, why it's going to stand out, what it looks like. Here is Airbnb. They're showing how big a market there is for this rental app by showing how many trips are booked, how many are budget trips, and out of those budget trips so far, how many are done through Airbnb. So they're showing that there is a room to grow. This is LinkedIn, and explaining why the old way of doing business and then the new way that people connect with having networks of colleagues and friends and so on. So this was their pitch deck, and they had to show the value proposition of their company. So a pitch deck is going to be a bit of an audio-visual way to get your foot in the door and get that investor to hear you out and give you the financing that you need. Business Development Canada provides some advice, again, because the government of Canada does not want businesses to go out of business. You can get some support. You might try an incubator. For example, the Digital Media Zone at Ryerson, helps people with apps get started. There's other entrepreneurs in the building who have experience. There's experts. There's grants. There's financing. So the idea is that they help refine your idea and grow it so that you can take it to the next level. And if you're thinking about the summer, there's a summer jobs program in Ontario where you can promote a business from May, June, July, August, or if you're just a high school student, July and August, and it'll give you a grant to get your company started. You do the business plan, and then it will provide you the money to get things started. Then you go ahead and launch it. So you get a lease, find a good location, find who your suppliers are going to be, hire and train staff, design a website. Digital Main Street's a group that helps small business owners create an e-commerce platform, because this can be intimidating. So Digital Main Street gives them the tools to stay in business, especially during COVID, and get online. You promote it. You have a soft opening to sort of test it out, and then you have a grand opening, and you hope that it works out. Just remember, you want to start using your accounting skills. So you have to at least do your bookkeeping on a weekly basis. Otherwise, the records will just be too cumbersome to keep track of, and there's a chance of losing money, forgetting to pay something on time. just do your accounting. Either do it yourself or have an employee who's a bookkeeper, at least devoting 1 day a week to it. You got to remember to file your taxes. Businesses file their taxes annually. You got to file out your HST. Some can do it annually if they're small, most do it quarterly. So you take all the HST that you paid on business supplies. So if we were a business and we bought a bunch of tablecloths, well, that HST that we paid on the tablecloths would go under our HST recoverable account. And so when we take all of the HST payable from the customers, we subtract the HST recoverable and remit the net amount. And that way you get back the HST that you paid yourself. And you ought to keep records for up to 7 years in case you're audited by the Canada Revenue Agency. Now, what's the planning the business involve? Well, the business plan requires you to really develop the idea in detail, to determine who's the demographic you're going to sell it to choose the location, to explain what type of business is, and to write a business plan. Again, the government can give you lots of templates because they want businesses to succeed. The Ontario government offers support, and the federal government as well. So, what should go into your business plan? Well, what is the purpose of this business? Some kind of executive summary that explains why it's going to succeed and is going to, catch their eye in the first couple of paragraphs of the first page and inspire them to read on. Explaining why this business needs to exist and how it's going to succeed. How is it going to operate? What's the timeline? What is it going to be like a landscaping company? Okay, well, we're going to be operating from March to September, and this is how many customers we're going to have, and we're going to do these types of lawn maintenance projects. What does the day-to-day operations look like? Estimated budget, how many staff are there going to be, what kind of equipment will be required, where's the money that it's going to go to. So the idea is to show that the business is feasible. If you remember that from the previous screencast, a feasible venture, something that is going to succeed. You got to show that it's something that can be marketed and something profitable. They determine if other people read your business plan and determine if they should support the venture or not, or the landlord that they should give you the lease, because they want to know you're not going to go bankrupt in 6 months' time. So seeing a good business plan helps. The feasibility, the amount that's required. You should list where you're getting your money. Listed in a budget, like what's it going to be spent on, and where's that money coming from. The location, explaining the location. Are there any local laws, taxes, licenses, or permits that will be required, and explain how you're going to obtain them. Who are the suppliers that you're going to work with? What are their prices and terms? Who's going to work with the staff? It's not like, oh, well, this person's going to run the cash register. It's more like, who is the key staff? What's the rough organizational structure? So you would want maybe just to stop and think, well, what would a manufacturing company need to show that they're feasible? Okay, well, maybe that they got a factory set up, that they've got the budget for some equipment, they've got people with previous manufacturing experience working for them. Well, a restaurant, well, who's going to be the chef? Where will it be located? A rough budget for the first year. Tech company, again, well, maybe they might have to spend more time explaining what the product is. You were going to talk about your marketing, the 4 Ps, who's the target market, do they want it, any evidence or research or surveys that you have, who's the competition, what's their market share, how much potential is there for you to grow your market share, what's the price, how long is this supposed to last, is it going to be a summer venture, a 5-year venture, or a permanent venture? And what is it that you offer that no other product or service does? So another customer quote: "The aim of marketing is to know and understand the customer so well that the product or service fits them and sells yourself." So if you have great market research and great insight, that'll really help build a clear business plan. So the profit, we're expecting to make a profit. So the entrepreneur has to show that revenue will exceed costs. So you list the expected revenue and list the expenses to help achieve this. Stand out. Why does your venture exist? How are you going to differentiate yourself? What will you do? Things like that. There's a lot of templates out there that help entrepreneurs create their first business plan. And So here is a business plan for the government of Ontario. For the summer company, it's a program that you would write to get a grant. So you would write the business plan. It's sort of for students, so it's a simpler version of a business plan, and goes through the product, who's involved, what are the prices, who are the customers, just some things like that, just the basic stuff. And there's a lot, again, templates out there trying to estimate the number of sales per day, talking about what type of advertising will be done, all these little things like that. What are any extra costs, just listing everything you can think of in an organized way. What's the insurance situation, what's the regulations situation, things like that. If you're interested in applying for the summer program, consider this website. It is skewed a little more towards the university crowd, because also a 4-month business for the 4-month university summer gives you more chance to make your money back, but high school students can apply, and a satisfied customer is the best business strategy of all.